Wasted Water Sports crew, ahoy! And how's everybody doing this Wednesday night? Oh, I don't normally do that. I don't normally give timestamps as to when things have been recorded. I'm sure that the smart of you out there could have worked it out anyway by checking when the video was published in the YouTube. But I digress. Welcome along, everybody. Nice to have you here. We are this far away. Hang on. This far away from the NRL finals. But before we get into all the general chit-chat, Panther, how are we doing?
Yeah, we're going well. Yeah, exciting week. Two teams are going to finish their season this weekend.
That's right. Is one of those teams going to be your team, or?
Well, I hope not. Yeah.
Before we get too far into it, just quickly through the chat room, John Michael, ahoy there, mates, and Heel Fries, ahoy. Unfortunately, Heel Fries, Parramatta Eels not making the finals this year. But before we get into predictions and whatnot for the rest of this year, let me go ahead and throw in my early thoughts on next season. Parramatta will be back into the finals.
It depends, doesn't it, on Mitchell Moses? A lot depends on him.
Yeah, I think we won the comp already. Yes. I play the video games too. My team wins on that. I think playing Rugby League Live 4 back in the day, I think the Sharks went about 12 in a row. Beat that, huh? Could have gone even further, but then I just got bored playing the game at that point, winning all the time. Reed Nichols, ahoy there, mate. How's everybody doing? So, coming up this weekend, the NRL finals get underway, and one of the big talking points leading into the last round, which was actually when we were initially going to do this video, but now it's still a point of contention because we'll find out the results of whether or not resting players has proved to have any impact or just what the case may be either way, and I think it differs between teams. I'm just going to get my lower third up here. I mean, first and foremost, chat room, do feel free to intervene at any point there and talk about your thoughts on this, to rest or not to rest. And we'll just quickly have a chat about this before we go into predictions and whatnot for the finals coming up. Now, I have been a big advocate for saying players, it's a long season, and especially when you factor in representative duties and whatnot, it makes sense to rest the players. But there's a couple of ways that you could look at it, I suppose. Panther, you could look at it from the business side of things. So obviously the NRL would be against teams resting players from a business standpoint. Then you've got John Michael raised it as the very first chat in the chat room, saying that he considered it to be disrespectful to the opposition to rest players. So there's that outlook on it. But then there's also the immediate outlook, and that is the coach and the players themselves know what they're capable of. And I suppose we can talk about all of those particular avenues and what might be some solutions around it moving forward. But just in general, Panther, what is your thought?
Well, I have to name drop here, Dan, I'm afraid,
okay,
because from a coach's perspective, right, this what showing disrespect to the opposition. I was at the first meeting that Logan City Scorpions had with Tommy Raudonikis, and in a nutshell, from a coach's perspective, stuff the opposition, give them nothing. So I'm with Ivan. Anything to do with Penrith, we have a saying, in Ivan we trust. So yeah, I'll go with the resting of players. I'm sure that Canterbury at the moment are wishing they would have rested a couple of those players that got injured. But Cameron Ciraldo said they hadn't earned that right.
Yep.
Canberra is another one that's going to find out whether or not resting players work. So,
yep. I think Canterbury and the Storm especially, if you've earned the right, I talked about that a fair bit, that very specific wording. If you've earned the right to rest the players, because I'd been saying for the weeks leading up to that final game between the Storm and the Broncos, Craig Bellamy's going to rest pretty much 3/4 of the squad. I said it wasn't even in question to me. He was going to rest half the squad. As it transpired, though, they came out, they got touched up by the Roosters the week before. They lost the right then to do that. They weren't playing well enough. You still need game time to form combinations, to get confidence. So Melbourne had lost the right to rest players, and it's interesting. Yeah, Cameron Ciraldo, the Bulldogs, they shifted halves halfway through the competition. So they probably didn't have the right to rest players either. Then you've got to look at it from the Raiders' perspective. Here's a young, fit team. Gus Gould has described them as the fittest team in the competition. And I'm sure that he's including his own team in that, the Bulldogs. But he's described them as the fittest and fastest team in the competition. So my immediate question is, well, the Panthers definitely needed to rest. I'm with you, and I was actually going to bring it up. If you hadn't, bollocks to the opposition. Who cares? Is it disrespectful? They can be disrespected if they want. That's got nothing to do with us. So I was all for Ivan and the Panthers resting their players. I think if you saw those games, if you actually watched those games, that was a tired team. That was an exhausted team. Dylan Edwards was making mistakes that I've never seen him make before. He just looked like a man who was making decisions with mental fatigue and a man who was executing with physical fatigue. Brian To'o was another one. He didn't have the same impact running from the back as you would normally expect from him, which was quite scary because he was still quite good, but we're so used to him being excellent. Isaiah Yeo was rushed back into the squad. I couldn't really understand why they rushed him back as quick as they did, and he was making some uncharacteristic mistakes. So from that perspective, the Panthers just looked exhausted. There was no way they were going to get through the rest of the season. And you've got to factor in 4 grand finals in a row, well, 4 premierships in a row, 5 grand finals in a row, representative football. All of these guys, 3/4 of the squad play for the Blues or play for Samoa or Tonga or Australia. These guys are playing on average, what? If you count finals as well, being in the finals every year consistently and going on and winning World Club Challenge, these guys are playing, what, at least 10 games extra per season than the rest of the competition. Some of them. They need a rest. They needed a rest. It was as simple as that. So I've got no problem there. My concern for the Raiders, and yes, I do have... we can raise questions about whether it's a genuine concern or not, but they are playing the Broncos, let's not forget. They're playing the Broncos, so I'll actually be on the Raiders' side this week. It's going to be crazy, but I digress. The youngest and fittest team in the competition. So the exact opposite of the Panthers. Haven't played finals before. Well, this current crop of players, very few of them have finals experience. So I just wonder if maybe Ricky's missed a trick there by resting them. Because if you think about it, if they get through the Broncos this week, they then get another rest. They've got the week off while they wait for the preliminary final. He rested them last week. He rested 10 players, and a few of the players had a rest the week before that. So probably the other 8. He probably separated it by 2, but there's the possibility that the Raiders go into a preliminary final, and that'll be the first game some of these guys have played in like 3 weeks or a month. Or the second game. They're all back for this one. So, I mean, that's a lot of footy to be missing out on. And it reminds me very specifically of a situation that happened with Super Rugby, and DJ Shack, possibly, depending on how long he's been following the Super Rugby, might know exactly where I'm going with it. He might remember the situation. But what say you about that, old Panther? Situations where it's backfired immensely is what we're leading into here. Do you have one, or?
Well, yeah, I have possibly one. Not actually resting players, is that one I was talking to you about beforehand? Is that what we?
I was just I was wondering if you just in general had one.
I misread the room.
No, that's
I
still
misread
good.
the room. Look, I think we have to think about player management. And just a few weeks ago, Greg Alexander was praising Ivan Cleary up for his player management. Things that people don't usually notice, and how he rested various or different players at various times through the season. And that sort of thing goes unnoticed. So for him to then come out and say, well, they all need a rest, obviously that's a part of his strategy. And if we trust his player management through the year, then we have to, well, in my opinion, we trust it now. And what you alluded to with the fatigue, that did seem obvious. They've been playing pretty much knockout football since round 12 when they were last. So eventually it gets to you, doesn't it? The mental side of the game. It's a big part of this game, and I think he's done the right thing. And all this business about will it backfire? The headlines that are up, that's, to me, that's just rubbish, because if they lose this weekend or the following weekend and get knocked out, then they obviously weren't legitimate contenders for the premiership. And that's what it gets down to. It doesn't get down to whether he rested players or not. So, yeah, for the benefit of the players, you do what's best for the players.
Yeah, well, I'm speaking specifically of the Raiders when I refer to a situation where it clearly backfired. And it's a little bit of a different situation because Super Rugby and the NRL have completely different formats. But here's the situation for the Raiders. Minor premiers on a roll, whether by hook or by crook, more arse than class, as I like to say. Doesn't matter. They've been winning games of footy, and they're the minor premiers, and they would have been coming into the finals red hot with a lot of momentum behind them. So I was actually a little bit surprised. We talked about the Panthers doing it, and agreeing with Ivan, and the reasons for that were obvious. Fatigue. But the Raiders weren't showing any signs of fatigue. They had both their buys, or two of their three buys. I think they get three, don't they? Two of their three buys were at the back end of the season. So they'd already had rests. They looked fit. They were firing. They have all the momentum in the world. Minor premiers. I can't for the life of me understand, other than protection from injury, why do you stifle your own momentum? And it just reminded me, as soon as that happened, and I thought about it and thought, okay, they've got this game coming up, then potentially another break. Some of these guys are only going to have 2 games of competitive football going into a preliminary final in a month, and that's just not enough for the physicalities of finals footy, because this is going to be a whole different ballgame, and we'll be talking a little bit about that later on when we make our predictions. But I'm thinking specifically, this happened in Super Rugby back in 2002, and the New South Wales Waratahs, who were strangers, much like the Raiders, complete strangers to semi-final football. Now, there's even less of a reason for resting when it comes to Super Rugby, because back then, anyway, it's a little bit different now, but back then it was a top 4. 1 played 4, 2 played 3. I believe was still the case in 2002. And it was straight elimination, semi-final, final. So there wasn't a prolonged final series. So anyways, New South Wales Waratahs, the new kids on the block when it comes to finals footy, coached by Bob Dwyer. And they were on a roll. The Crusaders went through undefeated in that competition, so they were top of the log. But the Waratahs were going so well, they were clear second place. And it didn't matter if they won or lost the final round, they were still going to be in second place and hosting a home final, regardless of the result. It just so happened that they were going into a match in the final round against the Crusaders, top of the table, undefeated Crusaders. So Bob Dwyer basically said, okay, I'm going to rest all my players. Well, not all of them, but he rested about 10 guys from the main squad and said, well, let's not risk injury because we've got the home final locked up anyway. So they went over to Christchurch and got absolutely blown off the park. It was 63 points to 0 at halftime as the Crusaders ran in 14 tries and ultimately won the match 96 points to 19. So the Waratahs, off the back of all this momentum, pulled their players out and went over and got absolutely shanked, basically. And nobody really necessarily thought of it at the time. It's one of those things, benefit of hindsight, right? But they went over, they lost all the momentum, And they came back a week later. They hosted the Brumbies in the semi-final with all their stars back on deck. What do you think happened? Did they come back all fresh and rested and ready to go? No. The team, not specifically the players involved, the team lost all momentum and were just belted 96. It doesn't matter if it was a B team or not. The team momentum was stifled, and they came out in the semi-final back to full strength and got thumped 51 points to 10, crashing out of their first playoffs under Bob Dwyer. Anyway, Waratah's first Super 12 semi-final under Bob Dwyer. So now, obviously, they did come up against the Crusaders, who went through that entire competition undefeated. So they did come up, whether it was A team or B team, they came up against a red-hot squad. And who knows, like, looking back on it, perhaps they send their A team over and still get belted 50 points to 0. And it's 50-0's not 96-16, but it's still a spanking. It could have still been a spanking, and it still could have happened regardless. But yeah, resting the players when they were on a roll it's gone down in history as sort of what's the word? A great example, a shining light of just be careful because this could backfire.
Well, this is the beauty of the game, isn't it, Dan? We have these differences of opinion, and even coaches have differing opinions about how to approach their player management. Heel Fries in the chat room disagrees. He reckons the rest will do the Raiders good. I think the rest will do Penrith good.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. Obviously, it's going to do Penrith good. They were looking flat and exhausted, but the Raiders are the fittest team in the comp.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens, won't we?
Coming off the back of two buys already, I don't think they needed the rest.
But isn't it good that there's all these differences of opinion? And I know this isn't quite on subject, but it's about differences of opinion. Young Tom Jenkins goes to Newcastle, can't even crack first grade, comes back to Penrith, and look at the position he's in. He's fighting to get into first grade now, but you know, in a couple of weeks' time, he might be in first grade. You don't know what's around the corner, do you?
No, that's right.
But different coaches have different opinions. Jack Cogger, he'll be coming back from Newcastle. Ivan Cleary has a different opinion about him to what Newcastle did. So it's good.
Yeah. And isn't it nice also, chat room, let's see if you agree with me on this one as well. Isn't it nice to have a difference of opinion and nobody's getting yelled at for it?
Nothing's been written in capital letters. Yeah, very good.
Well, anyways, it's now a talking point. So how about we segue over into a little bit more of finals talk? Oh, yeah, it's a nice segue. I did want to touch on the business side. I'll touch on the business side of things just quickly before we jump off the topic of resting. So obviously, from a business perspective, the NRL don't like it. So how did they go about fixing it? Well, I think from the NRL's perspective, the only fix that I can suggest to them is if you've got a problem with teams rotating players in and out, don't make the top squad 30 players deep. That's all I wanted to say about that. What do you think about that, old Panther?
Repeat that.
If the NRL's got a problem with player resting and player rotation, don't make the top squads 30 players deep.
Yeah. Sorry, I was reading the
No,
chat
you're
room.
right. All good.
Yeah, well, look, I don't have a very high opinion of the NRL either. So if they're worried about the business side of things and integrity of the competition, then they have to have a look at the scheduling of State of Origin, don't they? And,
that's right.
And other things that play into that, which affect teams. So, yeah, and apparently they're flexible with their scheduling, as Brisbane found out with the Canberra game.
Yes.
This weekend.
Oh, yes. So, NRL finals. Raiders taking on the Broncos. And isn't this interesting? So, for those who aren't aware, Ricky Stewart's been doing Ricky Stewart things and jumping up and down in the press about how the same team, the same Raiders team that had two of their three buys in the back end of the competition. The same Ricky Stewart who rested his entire squad over the past 2 weeks across the two games, and a bye was muffled in there in between as well, I do believe. That Ricky Stewart, who's been complaining about the turnaround time for the next game and saying that because they won the minor premiership, they should get the longest delay between games, and it's unfair that Brisbane, who finish fourth, get a longer rest period than they do. Despite, obviously, all that I just mentioned about Ricky has been controlling the output of his players, resting them. They've had buys in the back end. And, yeah, what did I say to you, old Panther? I'm like, it couldn't possibly, all this jumping up and down couldn't possibly have anything to do with the Broncos having such a horrendous daytime record, could it? It's all about his player welfare and the fairness of the resting time. Nothing to do with the Broncos' poor daytime record.
And thinking about the business side of things too, obviously the NRL didn't listen to you regarding the scheduling of the Panthers-Warriors game to clash with the rugby union. They could have fixed that, couldn't they?
Yeah, that's right. ARW mentioned that Panthers, anything can happen. Very professional, but anything can happen with that crowd. That's if there's even a crowd there. I mean, there'll obviously be a crowd. It's finals footy, and not everybody can go to the rugby union. But I think you'll be surprised with the amount of Panthers supporters that'll be in the house, because all the Kiwi supporters will be down at the All Blacks game. Well, I can't say all. I can't say all. That's not right. No, they'll still get a good turnout there, of course. I'm just saying the obvious. Rugby union's the biggest sport in New Zealand by a whopping margin. It's not even close. They're not even in the same conversation. So there will be people who are like, oh, they might follow the wires, and they might be disappointed that it's clashed, but it's pretty obvious where the choice is going to go. No, this, ahoy, mate. This is the old Panther, my dad, who does the Generations podcast with me. Nice.
No, this.
Yeah, no, this.
No, this.
Yeah, pretty cool name, isn't it?
Good evening. No, this.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is it they call that? There's a specific word for things like that.
Pseudonym.
Is that it? That's probably it.
Could be.
Yeah.
I just made that up.
You know when you're saying something's not, but it actually is, and it's right there in front of you. Yeah. So yeah, there's that going on. Nothing to do with the Broncos' poor daytime record, but anyways, I still think common sense from a business perspective would have been that they shuffled at least one of those games around, and yeah, maybe don't have your New Zealand team in the finals. Yeah, and I've heard people say, well, you can't, and it's true to a certain point. You can't be concerned about what the other codes are doing to a certain extent. I do believe that up until a certain point, and some of the examples thrown out were that the Broncos and the Lions play on the same day all the time, and it's like, but that is really not comparable when you're talking about rugby union in New Zealand. That's just a whole other beast. Like, yeah, you just don't take a ball sport to New Zealand and put it on the same day as the All Blacks. You just don't. And I think the NRL is about to find out why. Or at the very least, the broadcasters are about to find out why. Who else have we got? We've got Storm and the Bulldogs, who are going to start off the finals. And that's going to be an interesting game, because here are two teams, as I said, when we were talking about the right to rest players and whatnot. Two teams not in the greatest of form. But one of them has to go through.
Yes. Look, my heart says Canterbury. I'd like to see them do well, just because they're like Penrith's second team. and but I think the Storm, they'll rise to the occasion. They know what they've got to do.
Yep. It'll be difficult without Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, but they've got the experience there, haven't they? And they're not going to lose a player during the game because he's already been suspended, Big Nelson. So
Yep.
that'll help. Yeah.
Well, somebody might get injured though, is the thing. But that's the, as I said to UFC, that's the case for everybody. Every team's in the same boat there. Could lose a player. Lazo, ahoy, mate. Yeah, I've got to say that I'm leaning towards the Storm as well. I just think, yeah, we haven't seen the best from the Storm so far this year, obviously, and I mean, I just feel like they've been playing possum a little bit. You know how in the wrestling you'd play possum, be down on the mat, and then you'd get the opponent to drop their guard and come in, and then you roll them up in a small package. Yeah, I think the Storm are playing possum at the moment, and they could win this big. I think, especially in Melbourne, they could win this very big. So that's the Friday night game. I'm actually quite looking forward to that one. Jerome Hughes is a big out, but Harry Grant will be back, of course, and also Howarth is racing the clock. He could be back. Yeah, there's a big performance is not far away from the Melbourne Storm, that's for sure. I think this could be the one where they put the rest of the competition on full notice. So Saturday's games, we've obviously got the Panthers Warriors. We've talked a fair bit about that already. We haven't talked about potential result though. Wade Egan will be back for the Warriors. That's a huge in, but I just don't think it's going to be enough. The Warriors have not been the same since Metcalf went down. Metcalf is to the Warriors almost what Jerome Hughes is to the Melbourne Storm. So as soon as he went down, they started to fall apart a little bit. They're down to Tanner Boyd as their starting half, and I'm afraid, yeah, Tanner Boyd in finals footy. Yeah. Well, I mean, he's not used to it, is he? He came from the Titans, so he's never seen a final, I don't think, let alone how to control one from number 7. And, of course, Mitch Barnett being ruled out for the season. Yes, they've still got Fisher Harris, but, man, Mitch Barnett was just on another level this season. He went to the next level, and he's a big, big out. I just don't see... Oh, hang on. Chat room, what about this? I told the old Panther this on the phone the other night. Here's a conspiracy. Well, not a conspiracy theory, but this would be a little bit of fun. What if the Warriors rolled out, instead of Tanner Boyd at 7, what if they rolled out Jet Cleary? How about that for a little smoky? Roll out Jet Cleary and play some mind games with Big Brother Nathan and Coach Ivan and just see what happens. They're on a hiding to nothing anyway. I think it could be a little bit of fun. It obviously won't happen, but yeah, it'd certainly make for some great pre-game talking points.
And from a business perspective, wouldn't that have attracted some advertisers?
Yeah,
if they played it up
Cleary,
correctly.
the Cleary matchup.
Yeah.
Cleary's everywhere. Cleary's out the wazoo. But we obviously won't be covering that game because there's something more important on. But I reckon Panthers we'll be covering the rugby championship. But Panthers to win, I think.
I think so, but I don't think it'll be a flogging.
No, I don't think it'll be necessarily a flogging. The Panthers will get up by about 12 or 14 points and shut up shop, I dare say.
I hope not. No, of course, I was there for the game against the Titans when they tried to shut up shop. You got some reasons for that.
Yeah, they didn't try and shut up shop. They were down 3 or 4 players and ran out of gas. But anyway, did you see, actually, and I'm jumping off topic here, but this is worth mentioning. Did you see there's a thing that's been doing the rounds on social media at the moment, the Buffalo Bills? the American football team. So they were getting absolutely pumped. And the footage went viral of just thousands and thousands of Bills supporters leaving at 3/4 time.
Yeah. Wow.
And then they came back in the last quarter and won the game by 1 point.
Yeah. That's NFL. That's like a game of chess, isn't it? You just can't walk out of those games.
The crowd was playing checkers when the players were out there playing chess. Yeah, that was insane. All this footage went viral. I recommend checking it out on YouTube. Just this swarm of people leaving the stadium in their Bills jerseys, giving up. So yes, I haven't fully decided what to do with that one. I don't know if there's a way. I've long talked about it since this channel has started. I've long thought about how would I do, and it's always been a dream of mine to try it. So maybe this is the perfect opportunity for me to try it. But I always wondered, could I do 2 streams at once, covering 2 separate games? I've got no idea what that might look like. I've got no idea what that might sound like. But it's long been a dream of mine, especially when like Super Rugby finals hit around the same time as some crucial games in the NRL and whatnot. Yeah, if I can't figure out a way to do that, then hands down, I'm covering the Rugby Championship. But I'll have a think about it. It's long been a dream of mine. How can I do that? 2 games in the one stream and find a way to call them both, and it'd be tough. But maybe this is the most fantastic time ever to try and whip that one out.
Yeah, well, you should try it out. I don't think I'd be much help to you because I can't even pronounce half their names in the Warriors team. But, so I think it's something worth having a crack at.
Then we've got my team, the Sharks, and geez, it's almost becoming a tradition getting knocked out by the Roosters in week 1 of the finals. But
the Roosters were your Smokies right at the start of the year.
Yeah.
Look where they are now.
Yep. Oh, they're probably outside of. Well, they probably are the team carrying the most momentum into the finals now, because I would have said the Raiders, but they rested everybody and just cocked up all their momentum. So, yeah, I feel that maybe the Roosters are still the Smokies.
Could be.
So, I don't know. I don't hold out much hope for the Sharks, really, when it comes to finals footy. There was a small fleeting chance for a moment there when Nico Hines was suspended. But, of course, they fought the suspension and it got overturned. And I'm like, damn it. Well, there goes our chance.
Yeah. Your big name player. And you reckon that ruins the team?
Oh, he's awful.
Yeah.
He's not a halfback. I shouldn't say he's awful. That's not fair. He's not a halfback, though. Like, Nico made a big name for himself playing fullback and utility for the Melbourne Storm. The Sharks plucked him out at the wrong end of his career and tried to turn him. Because I understand that he used to play halfback in the juniors, and he came through and made a name for himself at the Storm. And yeah, you can't go back that late in your career and try and play in the halves again. Like, you can't be. Well, I shouldn't tell anybody they can't do something. It's very unlikely that at like 28 years of age, you're going to become a good halfback. Like, I mean, how old's Nathan Cleary? 24, 25? Andrew Johns says that by 27 and 28, you reach the prime of your halves play. That's when you're at your peak. And so they've brought Hines over already too old and tried to turn him into a halfback. Like, yeah. He's just not, he's not cut out for it. He's not consistent enough. So I thought the Sharks had a much better chance with the Braden Trindall, Daniel Atkinson halves pairing, the same pairing that's beaten the Melbourne Storm twice in the past 2 years. coincidentally enough. So, but anyways, not to worry. Hines got the thing overturned. If he has a good game, they're a chance. But unfortunately, those good games are few and far between. But I'd be hoping that he has one. I just can't see it happening. Not the Roosters are just in red hot form at the moment. Lazar remembers stirring a mate who went for the Sharks by buying flake shark fish from the fish and chip shop, taking a photo when the Sharks won the premiership. Yeah, 2016. At least the beauty of being a Sharks fan is you don't have to think about when we last won the comp. It's only ever happened once. So don't have to think too hard about it. Oh, well, Lazar, if you feel free to buy some flake and send me a photo to stir me up, and who knows, I'll take it as a good omen. Perhaps.
Well, I think the whole playoff thing, DJ Shack, he raised a good point about the injuries and just one missed tackle change a game. Yeah, that's the sort of thing that can happen in playoff games, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like no, they say it all the time. It's a different competition. You've already said it once tonight. It is a completely different competition, and even though the teams I pick, and you shouldn't follow my team, at 57 on the tipping comp, but anything can happen in these games. Just one poor decision, one misread in defence, one lucky bounce of the ball. It just changes. It's all these moments, isn't it? Change a whole game and a competition.
Yep, and speaking of all those moments, boy, the Raiders have had a lot of those sorts of moments throughout the year. I think their luck has surely all run out. The Broncos come in with a lot of momentum and playing some red hot footy, and I think that they catch the Raiders a little bit flat on Sunday. But I'll be going for the Raiders, by the way.
Well, I'm a bit dirty on the fact that the NRL has changed the format for the finals this year, and so probably for only the third time in history, I'll be going for the Broncos.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Wow. Just because of
just because
Ricky's...
they changed it.
Yeah.
How come? Why?
Well, have you noticed that Ricky's been doing a lot of whinging this year, and it's been getting results?
Yeah.
There's been a lot of things, and we won't go through them all here. I mean, it's pretty easy to find if you care enough to look it up. But Ricky's been getting a lot his way this season. ARW wants to know, is Karapani suspended? I don't think so. Because if I look at the team sheets, I do believe that I see him there.
Won't there be some dirty players, eh?
Yeah, Karapani.
Because when you look at Nico Hines, he had the charges for that hip drop.
Yep.
Dropped. And fair enough, because it was accidental. But then other players through the year have had similar things, and then they've been out for 2 or 3 games. And
and it's
Scott Sorensen, one of them.
And because it's not a final, you don't even, I'll just cop it.
Yeah.
You don't even think about contesting it.
That's another reason I'm dirty on the NRL.
Well, shouldn't you be going for the Roosters then?
Should I be?
Yeah. In that case.
Oh, no, well, I don't know. I don't. That game doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah.
I'm just amazed at the fact that while they were playing badly, you called the Roosters the Smokies for the competition. I just have a high regard for your judgment. Certainly better than what my judgment's been all my life. So,
well, I don't think they were necessarily playing badly, but
all
that badly.
Teddy was playing badly.
Oh yeah, but poor Teddy, you're as hard on poor Teddy as I am on Reece Walsh. All right, we're going to cover our lovely faces up for a moment because I just wanted to put this up on the screen for those who haven't seen. So this is basically, effectively, what we've got, and I can probably actually condense this down a little. Still have you see it? Oh, really? Probably no logo to be side as well, and that still might be legible enough there. So this is obviously not in the order that they're going to be playing because we've run through the order from Friday through to Sunday. Man, I really, really do hope that the Raiders beat the Broncos. But honestly, if I had it my way, these are two teams that would be playing other teams so they could both get knocked out. One of them, unfortunately, I'm just going to have to wait a week or two for. Either way, yeah, I just think that Ricky has missed a trick here, and the Raiders are going to get caught a little bit flat. And so I think the Broncos go straight through to prelim 1. The Raiders will await the winner of the Sharks Roosters, which would very likely be Roosters. Panthers to beat the Warriors, pretty much unanimous on that one. And I've got the Storm beating the Bulldogs. So the Bulldogs versus Panthers, Roosters versus Raiders, potentially in the semis. So when the Roosters win that one, they come down and face the Storm in a prelim. And the Panthers beat the Bulldogs to take on the Broncos in the other prelim. And we've got my Storm Panthers grand final that I've been predicting all year long with the Roosters in there as a potential smoky. Could be Panthers Roosters.
Yeah,
that's how it's shaping up.
How it could shape up.
Yep. Of course, I really, really do hope that the Raiders absolutely flog the Broncos on the weekend and go through to the prelim. And then the Broncos would have that elimination semi against the Roosters. And then the Raiders will get the Warriors, Panthers, Storm, or Bulldogs. There we go. Karapani was only fined. Yeah. To answer that question. Yeah, so that's the way it's all sort of tracking along at the moment. But yeah, look, I'm always pretty confident and pretty certain in my predictions, so that's why I speak with such authority. But at the end of the day, anything can happen. Yes, as we've seen multiple times. I'd say most likely for an upset. Well, if there's going to be an upset that you would actually genuinely consider an upset, it'd be the Sharks beating the Roosters or the Warriors beating the Panthers. Those two elimination games are the ones where there seems pretty genuinely a clear-cut favorite and a clear-cut underdog. Like Raiders and Broncos, both at top form, you couldn't really split them. And the Storm Bulldogs, neither one of them have hit top form just yet. So it's very hard to split them. I'll tell you what, though, I certainly didn't pick this 8 at the start of the season. I wouldn't have had the Raiders there. I probably honestly wouldn't have had the Broncos there. I didn't have the Sharks there. I thought Manly would have done better. I wasn't expecting the Rabbitohs to have lost their entire squad. So they got a bit hard done by. But yeah, certainly not the bulk of the 8 that I would have thought.
Well, I suppose the NRL would like that, wouldn't they?
Well, they should. Yeah, this has been one of the most exciting years that I can recall. I mean,
certainly. Competition, most open it's been for a while.
yeah. Well, I was a little disappointed actually because it looked like around about back when the Panthers were dead last, which was almost halfway through the competition. The way that it was shaping up, it looked like there was going to be about 6 teams fighting for the last 2 spots in the 8. The top 6 at that point was all pretty well set in stone. It looked like it was going to be a dogfight between 6 teams. And it's disappointing that we sort of got to the final round and everything was all set in stone. Didn't really matter because it really was looking that way for most of the year. But outside of that, it has been the closest competition that we've seen in a very long while.
And towards the end, even the Tigers had a chance to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So all they needed was for the Roosters to win by 80 or something, wasn't it, in one of their games?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
all they needed to do to keep that alive was not lose a couple of those games they shouldn't have lost. But that comes with experience, doesn't it?
It helps.
They're my dead set certs for the top 8 next year.
Okay.
Tigers.
We'll hold you to that.
It'll be an 8th.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll go any higher than 8th. And but yeah, I'll be throwing down some coin. Gamble responsibly, as we always say. Don't bet what you can't afford to lose. But I will be throwing down on the Tigers to make the 8. Eels will most definitely get in the 8. Eels will be pushing top 4. Jason Riles is doing some amazing things there with the team that he's putting together, and yeah, they'll be pushing for top 4, in my opinion. Lazar says, if I do the follow more than one game format in future, call it the sports bar. I know I've been in sports bars watching more than one game. Yeah, that's it. The old sports bars. You got the horsies over here and all the TVs around, and the studio is looking a little that way with all the different screens and lights and whatnot. Geez, we've almost been going for an hour already. Well, I think we've said all that we wanted to say. I think, in terms of resting players and our finals predictions. So we'll throw it over to the chat room and see if there's any questions in the chat for the Old Panther. Ask Old Panther. Because they can ask me all the time, anytime. So
you can ask me, and if I don't know it, I'll make something up.
That's the way. That is the ultimate way to go about it.
Did you find out who asked the question about bookies?
No, I don't think they're out there tonight. Anyways, I can have a quick look for it though, and as we see if any other questions come through, I can see if I can locate it.
Well, the question was asked: when did bookmakers begin sponsoring the rugby league teams? And as far as I can find out, it really started to come to the fore back in 2015, and from that time on, it just sort of became a part of the game that bookies would sponsor teams or have naming rights to stadiums, etc. That it is causing some concern. Apparently, over in England with the English Premier League, there's actually some serious talk happening now about the possibility of banning bookmakers from sponsoring. So it is a big deal. It was a legitimate question.
Yes, and I did find it. It was by Robert M.
Good.
Our longtime subscriber and channel member, Robert M., who asked that one.
Thank you, Robert.
Yeah. ARW says the Broncos have lost their last 10 finals games away from home, dating back to 2009.
Oh.
And let's not forget their atrocious daytime record as well. Just in general, not even in finals. When did Ricky himself first play for the Raiders?
Yeah.
There you go, Lazar.
Well, that'd have to be mid-80s, wouldn't it? He came over from rugby union.
Yes.
And that was a big deal back in the day. And I know that he played for Canberra in 3 grand finals, didn't he? The win against Balmain, and then Penrith, and then the loss against Penrith. So it'd have to be in the mid-80s that he came over.
Yep.
We can get the exact date for that.
Yeah, we probably can.
He was a great player. And he's a good coach. I like Ricky as a coach. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Certainly gets emotional.
Did you hear the news
About
Laurie Daly?
which news?
He's taken up a coaching role at the Sea Eagles.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, isn't that great news for the Blues?
Will he still be the coach?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I think the ban on Origin only applies to head coaches.
Yeah.
So we might still be stuck with him for the bizarre duration of this contract. But still, he might decide that he can't do it. Gets too busy.
It's a strange setup there at Manly because there's been a push on to get Seabold out, and I don't know if they bring in Laurie Daly in to try and shore that position up, or some other motive.
So Ricky Stewart made his first grade debut in 1988 for the Raiders.
There you go.
After coming across from rugby union.
Yep.
Including representing the Wallabies in 1987. So there you go.
He was good to watch. Great player.
Yeah, well, it was. I watched some of the highlights on YouTube and that from the 80s, and I find they used to just throw the ball around a lot more. It was a lot less systematic, a lot more off the cuff, open footy. I found.
Yeah.
That I just don't really remember it being when I was. I know I was only little, so.
Yeah.
But they throw the ball around everywhere.
Well, that team had Ricky at halfback and Laurie Daly at 5'8", Mal Meninga out in the centres, Gary Belcher at fullback, and so they could afford to throw the ball around because they knew where each other was going to be. They were just amazing.
Yeah. But even like not specifically the Raiders, that just seemed to be the style of play that was played back then.
Oh yeah. There's I sent you the a little highlights reel from a 1985 game.
Yeah. Which
had no bearing on finals football, and the way they were throwing the ball around in that. Penrith and Canterbury were known as the entertainers back in those days.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing. They didn't even have to look where they passed the ball.
No,
because they knew someone
right.
was going to be there. Yeah. But I think over the years the attention has been on not giving away possession, hasn't it?
Well, I was going to say too, like teams, I guess they specifically trained for and just got better at wrapping the ball up. Because some of those offloads, it's easy to say, well, we wouldn't see that today just because that's not the style of game that gets played, but you wouldn't even be allowed to. So you wouldn't even be allowed to get some of those offloads away. I mean, we're talking about guys standing with blokes on their legs and looking around for somewhere to. You didn't get this third man in stuff necessarily back in those days. It was just a completely different aggression and a completely different style that's evolved into the game now, where you get these 3-on-1 tackles and the ball gets wrapped up. And
well, I think from memory, they actually credit the gang tackling to Ricky Stewart.
Yeah, right.
When he became coach, it was him that started that. So obviously this is how they should have locked me up. But this is what we're going to do.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. EB Williams, ahoy, mate. Semi Salsa, ahoy there. And Luke, ahoy. Welcome along out there in the chat. If you've got any questions for the old Panther, now is the time to fire them through. And it can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about the NRL finals. I've just got that graphic on the screen because I can't be bothered changing it. I actually have no idea where I put the last one. UFC, ahoy, mates. So, yeah, it's interesting. Do we know exactly? I mean, we'd probably have to research it a little bit, but I'd be curious to know when that style, because it was really fun to watch. I've been enjoying watching the old highlights, end-to-end stuff constantly. So when did it sort of come in that, I mean, surely it was before Ricky Stewart got into coaching that they started having the ball wrapped up. But I'd be interested to know, because even sometimes the highlights packages these days go for about 30 seconds long on certain games.
Depends if it's controversial.
Well, yeah. Oh, geez. Talking about the NRL and not being happy with the NRL, these they suppress the moments on those highlight packages, don't they? Boy, do they suppress those. EB Williams says last time the Wallabies won the Bledisloe Cup, the PS2 was 1 year old, and John Howard was in the crowd as well. He was Prime Minister at the time, and he was in the crowd. Because I remember there's a photo of him, I'm pretty sure. There's a photo of him with George Gregan holding up the trophy.
Yeah.
So, Game of Mel, ahoy there.
That shows how much I know.
Well,
Because
actually,
I thought the PS2 was PlayStation.
yeah.
It is it?
Yeah,
Oh,
PlayStation
okay.
2.
I thought he was telling us he won the Bledisloe Cup on the PlayStation.
Oh.
No.
No.
Yeah,
No, that's
I'm not really that much into the rugby union.
that's how you know that it's a video game or not.
Can I answer UFC?
Oh yeah, if you like. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think you've got any worries about shaving your beard.
Oh, I don't. No.
No, I don't think so. I don't think the Raiders are going to win.
Mookie, ahoy, mate.
Ahoy.
Do we start these things too early or something? Do we? Everybody's filtering through now. Maybe we went live too early tonight. Yeah, suppressing those controversial moments from the highlights packages. Oh, that's right. How about this? Speaking of fun facts around the Bledisloe Cup in Australia, there is going to be an entire generational, what would you call it? Just an entire generational gap in history, because the Wallabies lost. I'm trying to think of how to say it specifically, because I might confuse everybody if I try and say it in my own stupid way, but Twitter basically didn't exist. Right? The Wallabies have not held the Bledisloe Cup since Twitter existed. Twitter now technically still exists, but it got rebranded. It got sold and it got rebranded. So the Twitter, when you used to call it tweets, which you still do, but I digress, there will never be a Twitter post. And Twitter is one of the most popular social media things to have come through this particular generation. There's never been a tweet about the Wallabies winning the Bledisloe Cup. And now there never will be, technically, because the company sold and rebranded, even if people do still call them tweets. But yeah, there's never been a tweet about the Wallabies winning the Bledisloe Cup. It's been that long. Crazy to think. I would be very happy at this point, I think, to see them win it. I think it'll be very competitive this year. It'll be their best chance in a long, long time this year.
Well, I think at some point in time, the powers that be, whether they be in rugby union or rugby league, will make sure that something happens to allow different clubs win these competitions. We've seen it happen in stages with the NRL where rule changes.
Yeah.
If you ever get the opportunity to see the original movie Rollerball, you'll find out how the powers that be operate behind the game, because I think it's an over the top representation of what happened.
Hmm.
So I think it'll happen. There'll be some manipulation of some sort, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, especially now, it's a business.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about that all the time,
Yep.
about how sport is big business. And once it stops getting treated like a little bit of fun, a pastime, and it becomes a business, financially driven, yeah, things will happen. Happens in Formula One all the time. A team gets a period of dominance, so they review, like, these are the things that keep it as simple as possible. I won't get into the specifics of Formula One cars, but they review the regulations around what you can and can't do to the car. And if a team has just figured out aero too well, they'll tighten aero regulations, bring them back to the fold. And so, okay, so now the cars might be centered more around downforce. And that brings this team who are struggling with aero but really solid downforce, suddenly they're winning all the time now with these new regulations. And this other team is struggling and falling back to the pack a little bit. So, yeah, of course absolutely it happens. They don't want, from a business standpoint, you don't want a team dominating. It's already gone too far. The Panthers have already screwed the system big time.
Yep.
All hell will break loose if they manage to do it again.
Mm. Yep. Absolutely.
And I'll tell you what will happen too. If the Panthers defy all the odds and win this premiership and go back to the World Club Challenge again, watch for some strings to be pulled there and say, okay, they said it couldn't be done in the modern era to go back to back. They've done it. They said it was impossible to go 3 in a row. They did it. Impossible to go 4 in a row. They did it. They've said that it's impossible to win the competition from outside the 8. They've done it. Make sure that they win this bloody World Club Championship so that they have nothing left to do. UFC, what's our take on the Brandon Smith allegations? To be honest, I haven't really dug that deep into the Brandon Smith allegations, but I'd say the fact that the club and the coach, specifically Wayne Bennett, have both openly and publicly come out and said we'll stand by him, I think that suggests to me that there's very little to worry about, because generally speaking, the NRL has a very zero tolerance mandatory stand down for criminal matters.
Mm.
So the fact that they've come out and publicly backed him and he's still around suggests that he probably doesn't have a whole lot to worry about. Yeah. Oh, E.B. Williams, yeah, don't get us started on that World Club Challenge. Lazar says, what do you make of sponsorships versus the salary cap in the NRL? In terms of... well, it's interesting. I think if a player or a player manager organizes, it's a tough one. I was going to say if a player or a player manager organizes one as a third party, like disassociated from the club, like just them as an individual, their individual brand and whatnot, then there surely should be no problem with that. And who cares what they make from it? But then how do you distinguish? That's a whole other can of worms, isn't it? We could probably do an entire episode on that. We might have done before, actually.
Well, we did speak about the draft and why the salary cap came into being, didn't we?
Yeah, I do believe we did. We might have, Lazo, we might have done that before your time here as a channel member. I'll see if I can dig it out. I've got everything sort of zoomed in really heavily at the moment, but Yeah, I mean, do feel free, Lazza, to check out. There's a playlist on the homepage of the Wasted World of Sports YouTube. If you scroll down a little bit, there's the Generations playlist, which is the podcast that I do with the old Panther here. And I'm pretty certain that we have done specific salary cap talks, which probably covered a little bit of that conversation, Lazza. So, yeah, do feel free to check that out if you'd like. Because it's that's a very deep question. And we could talk hours on it.
And I think we mentioned recently there's a video on YouTube from memory called The Professionals.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that delves into the player contracts and the beginning of all this business with salary cap and didn't it? How it came about. Some good stuff there too.
There you go. DJ Shaq has never seen the Wallabies win in his lifetime. The Bledisloe Cup. E.B. Williams says, as an All Black fan, through and through, hopes to never see a Wallabies Bledisloe win. Oh, God, it's pretty painful.
Yeah.
It's pretty painful. I remember the Johnny Eels, those Johnny Eels days. They made a habit, did the Wallabies, of All Blacks dominating games, but they would just hang in. Basically doing what the Raiders are doing this season. Like, they would get outplayed for the entire contest, but they would just hang in, and steal it at the death. Gregan, Larkham, Herbert, Horan, Eels. Sensational team back in those days. Yeah. Anyways, we've flown completely off completely off course. Lazza says a film called The Final Winter is pretty good. Has Matt Nable, Matt Johns, and John Jarrett. Nice. What a combo. What a mad combo. It is about the Newtown Jets. Oh, cool. Yeah, I might have to check that out. The Final Winter. Yeah, I'll definitely have to suss that one out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Newtown Jets. Yeah. You know, they used to be called the Blue Bags.
Yes. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, here's another subject.
Well, oh, okay.
Wow.
Origin. Yeah, we've definitely covered this. Yeah, we've most definitely. I mean, feel free, old Panther, if you like to give an answer in a nutshell. But it's obviously a very deep topic.
Well, yeah. Where do we begin? For goodness sakes, I think there's a certain amount of grey about Origin selections at the moment, isn't there? Really, and I think we when we discover that in one season the opposing captains of New South Wales and Queensland both grew up in the same town in New South Wales. Where do they play? And yeah, I don't know. I think because the game needs to expand. This is only my personal opinion. If the game needs to expand, if these guys want to play for Samoa or Tonga or whatever, then they should still be eligible, in my opinion, to play State of Origin. And that will help. That helps with the expansion of the game, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Emmanuel Vincent, ahoy, mate. Yeah, I think it definitely should open up. I mean, we are a multicultural country. So, I mean, you can be passionate about representing New South Wales and England at the same time. You know, if you've got eligibility for both, I mean, it'd be a way to grow the international game and also strengthen domestically. Like if a player's from New South Wales or played a majority of their juniors in either New South Wales or Queensland, who cares who their alliances are tied to at international level? I think And look, I say this with no disrespect at all because clearly I follow both codes. I think the sooner that and I am tiptoeing over saying this because I don't want to be. I'm not meaning offense in any way, but I just think the sooner that the NRL come to terms with, or not the NRL, but rugby league. As soon as rugby league fans, associates, whoever controls the game, as soon as they realize and accept that this isn't a worldwide sport, but it could be. Like I feel like they feel like they're bigger than they actually are. The sport of rugby league, I feel like fans and administrations alike feel like they're bigger than they actually are on a world stage. And yeah, I just think if you eased up and filtered down from the top, whoever is in control of international rugby league needs to make these decisions. I don't think it should be an NRL decision. I think it should, the same way that the IRB or World Rugby would step in and say, hey, SANZAR, which is the South Africa, New Zealand, Australia, and Argentina grouping, hey, SANZAR, that's fantastic, but we're not going to let you do that. So there does need to be an overriding international, like, look, we want to grow the game internationally, so to assist us with that, you're a multicultural country. This player is eligible for England, so, or New Zealand, or, you know, especially like New Zealand and Australia have got this feud going on, but I mean, what? It's our closest neighbors, right? And I mean, how many expats are there in both countries? So I don't see a problem with. You can be equally passionate about both your state and your country, even if your country happens to be different from where your state is, and your club. Like, I mean, does a player who plays for the Scorpions have to represent the Brisbane Broncos? No. Do they have to give a toss about the Brisbane Broncos at all? No. But I mean, they're the closest to the Logan Scorpions, aren't they? It'd be like saying that in a way. Doesn't make me any less passionate about representing the Scorpions. Do we see what I'm trying to say here? Am I making sense? Sometimes I make sense in my own head and it doesn't quite come out properly, but
Sometimes he does.
yeah.
I got to give Emmanuel a rap. We don't see enough of that, Emmanuel. We are Anzacs.
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't necessarily say Anzacs, I suppose, because this goes beyond that. England and, well, it's really only England, isn't it? England and New Zealand are really the only top tier nations that they.
France used to be, but
yeah. So, but yeah, I would love to see. I would love to see players that have played a majority of their rugby league in New South Wales or Queensland, but are Kiwis, get selected for Origin. Why not? They're still New South Welshmen. They're still Queenslanders. Just because they want to maybe choose to represent New Zealand at international. And honestly, who cares if they get picked for the Kangaroos and want to play for the Kangaroos? I mean, that's fine too. If they're eligible for both, I don't think picking one should negate the other. Personally, E.B. Williams says the French rugby league fall off should be studied. Yeah. Yeah, they just disappeared, didn't they?
yeah, it would be interesting because when I first started following the league, that was actually a test match.
Mm.
Yeah, they actually had to fight. Australia had to fight hard to win those games. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, now you barely hear about it. Didn't they used to do like big Tri-Nations series, Australia, England, France.
Yeah, when Australia went over there, they played test matches in France and England. Yeah.
Yeah, that is pretty wild. Then. Yeah. Oh, well, old Panther. What say we think about wrapping up?
Yep.
Yeah,
That was good.
I've still got some work to do tonight. What's the plan for the rest of the night? Sleep?
Hopefully, eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I might check out that movie and
Yes.
put it on in the background. What was
Yeah,
that called again?
Have a look at that. Thank you for that.
Final Winter. The Final Winter. Yes, I'll have to look that up.
The other one was The Professionals, wasn't it?
The Professionals, yeah. The Professionals was our suggestion, and The Final Winter was Laz's suggestion. So right before we go, DJ Shaq has said the eligibility crutch is part of a greater issue with rugby league as a global sport. When you consider State of Origin to be the pinnacle of sport, it indirectly undermines the growth of and that's where YouTube's cut him off. So there's probably some more coming. But hey, I've said that to you before, haven't I? Oh, growth of the sport. He cut him off by one word. Naughty YouTube. Yeah, I've said something very similar to you before, old Panther, haven't I? About how international rugby league will never grow as long as State of Origin's considered the pinnacle of the sport. Well, maybe opening up the eligibility will assist with that, because
how do we get DJ Shaq onto the NRL board?
I think to get on the NRL board, you have to have been an existing board member somewhere else first for experience, and sent that club under.
Wasted World of Sports.
No, you
count or?
No.
No. I mean, you mean you're going to destroy the club?
Yeah, you've got to have actually failed. Okay. I've noticed that to get these top board member jobs in big sports positions, you need to have sucked at your job somewhere first.
Well, somebody's the old school tie, isn't it?
Yeah, jobs for the boys or girls these days.
That happens.
Yep. Yeah, that's my understanding of of how it happens. Yep. Get a gig somewhere on the grassroots, work your way up, and sink a club or two, and you'll be hot on their radar. Of course, it's no use if you actually really want to be good at your job, but yeah. Alrighty, any last words from the old Panther?
I think we've covered everything. DJ Shaq, he raises some good points there, as do other members of the chat. I think that's one of the good things about this. We've said lots of different opinions.
Yep.
Sometimes opposing opinions.
Oh, quite often.
That's
quite
great.
often opposing opinions.
Good stuff.
Yeah. I think this would get a little bit dull quite quickly if everybody just agreed with each other on everything. Yeah. Alrighty, Waste of Water Sports crew, thank you so much for joining us. So I will obviously be back Friday night as the NRL finals get started, with the Storm taking on the Bulldogs. And then I'll have to figure out exactly what's happening on Saturday. I'll obviously be doing the Wallabies versus Argentina test, and I'll obviously be doing the All Blacks Springboks test. Now, whether I'll have to think about how we possibly could do any form of overlap from the Warriors-Panthers game into the All Blacks Springboks test. But I'll definitely be back either way for the Sharks versus Roosters elimination final. So
you'll be doing that.
Yeah. Yep. And then Sunday, Raiders versus the Broncos, and I've got a very, very special surprise for you. Oh, I should have it. It depends if it depends on a few things, but I should have a very special surprise for you on Sunday for that. One that you probably never thought you would ever see and one that'll be worth tuning in for and coming and joining us for over there. So there we go. I'll definitely be doing that. Robert M. Ahoy there, mate. Thank you so much for your question the other week. We did answer it a little earlier on. The old Panther did. Your question regarding bookmaker sponsorships.
Best I could find was around about 2015 when it really started to come into the fore in the game.
Oh, here we go. I've still got the thing open. So on the 20th of August, so we did make you wait a little bit, Robert M. But question, old Panther, Robert M. says, when did the NRL start letting gambling companies start sponsoring teams? So there, my friend, is your answer.
The best I could find was that there might have been some involvement before 2015, but it really started to take off from about then. So, there you go. And we did mention during the stream that in England, in the English Premier League, they're starting to have conversations about this with a view to possibly banning bookies from sponsoring. So it's a big deal all over.
The Broncos game, how far back in history versus the Raiders did it go into the late 1980s? Not sure I'm following
the Broncos didn't come in until 88, did they?
Yeah, they came in a bit later. Yeah. So, all right. I've got some work to do, so I better jump off. Been fun, though. Always fun hanging out with you lot, so thank you very much. And now we swapped weeks because I was tired last week, and it also worked out in our benefit because we got in right before the finals. So whether or not we do this again in 7 days or 14 days, we'll figure that out. It might be best if I do it next week because then I miss my production deadlines. But we'll see. We'll play it by ear as we always do here with the old Panther. Old Panther, thank you for hanging out with us tonight. I know Mum didn't stick around and wait for you. She left. So
walk home.
Yeah, looks like you're walking home.
Yeah.
I'd give you a lift.
Been good.
I'd give you a lift, but I've already had a few.
Yeah, some of the I enjoy some of the questions that the chat puts forward.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The interaction is what makes this all worth doing, I think, because, yeah.
Some clever people there, Dan. Clever members.
Yeah, that's you. Oh, man, my hand disappeared. Parts of my skin must be green. That doesn't seem healthy. All right, thank you so much, you lot. I will see you Friday night footy. Storm versus Bulldogs. Till then, cheers.
Wait.
Hang on, where's my